Good afternoon. Thank you for joining the live stream. Our live stream will be from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock. And I have some questions that have been randomly selected that I'll be working with to help you all. Thank you for joining the live stream again. Feel free to submit your questions if you have not submitted them already. And if we have some time at the end of the questions that we have, we'll be able to address those questions for you. So what I've done today, a little bit differently from yesterday, is for each of the questions that have been submitted, I have put a grade range for them so that the students that are relevant to those grade ranges will be able to benefit from it as well. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. It's already 1 minute past 1 o'clock. And we'll be starting with a question from grades 2 to 4. So the question here is estimate 487 plus 229 to the nearest tenth. Now the way we're going to go about this is we're going to look at each of the numbers, 487, and we're going to convert that to the nearest tenth. The way you want to do that is pay attention to the number in the 10th position right now, which is 8. So we're going to look at the number to the right to see if it's 5 or more. If it's 5 or more, then the number in the 10th position gets to be, you can increase that. If it's less than 5, we'll leave it the same way it is. So now 487 to the nearest 10th becomes 490. The next number here is 229. Now 2 is in the 10th position. So now we have to look at the number to the right of that. And we have a 9. 9 is greater than 5. So that means that we can increase the 2 in the 10th position to 3. So that becomes 230. So now these are the numbers that we will be adding. So 0 plus 0, we have 0. 9 plus 3, we have 12. So that means we're going to write 2. And we're going to carry 1 up here. 4 plus 2, 6, plus the one we carried from 12 is going to give us 7. So this is going to give us 720. Feel free, if you have questions as I walk through this, send the questions through and I'll try to address them during the session, or I'll try to address them after all the questions we have been addressed. So express 0.48 as a fraction. This is typically a question that you'll see from about grade 5 to 6. So the way I like to do this to make it easy for students to understand is I have 0.48. I'm going to write it as a fraction first. So it has a denominator of 1. Now the important thing here is that we have 2 numbers after the decimal. And so that means that we're going to multiply by 100. So I'm going to multiply the denominator by 100. I'm going to multiply the numerator by 100. So now what I have here is 100 as my denominator. And then because I'm multiplying the numerator by 100, it means we just take the number after the decimal and just make it a whole number. So that's 48. Now we're going to reduce this to its lowest form. This is an even number, so it's safe to say we can divide by 2. So let's go ahead. We can divide by 2. Some like to do it this way. I'm fine with that. So that's going to give me 24. And then we have 50. Now we can also go ahead and divide by 2 again, because we have even number. So we divide by 2, divide by 2. 24 divided by 2 is 12. And if you're not sure what 50 divided by 2 is, let's go ahead and walk through that. 50 divided by 2, 5 divided by 2. We have two groups of 2 in 5. So 2. 2 multiplied by 2, we have 4. Now we subtract. We have 1, and then we bring down the 0 right here. 10 divided by 2, we have 5. 5 multiplied by 2, we have 10. And then our remainder is 0. So this is 25 down here. So 0.48 is the same as 12 over 25. Our next question here is going to be a grade 5 through 7 question. The question here is, how many 2/3 are there in 14? So the way I look at this, because of fractions, and sometimes when students see fractions, they freak out. So I always try to think about it this way. If I ask myself, how many 2's are there in 10? How do I get that? I just divide 10 by 2, and that gives me 5. So there are 5 groups of 2 in 10. So we'll apply the same method here. How many 2/3 are there in 14? So how many groups of 2/3 can you get in 14? It's going to be 14 divided by 2/3. Now we have to apply fraction, dividing a whole number by a fraction. And here's how I like to do it. I like to always work with fractions. Everything must be a fraction just so it's easy to work with. I'm going to convert 14 to a fraction with a denominator of 1. We divide by 2/3. And this is going to give us, the rule is we leave the fraction on the left hand side, and then we change this to a multiplication, and then we switch the positions of the numerator and denominator on the right hand side. So that's going to give us 3 over 2. Now, how would you go about this? Yes, there are two methods I like to use. I'll use the two of them. The first method I like to use is just multiply across. That's the easiest way to go about this. And so this is going to give you 42 divided by 2. And if you go ahead and do that, you have 42 divided by 2. 4 divided by 2, we have 2. 2 multiplied by 2, we have 4. 0, and then we have 2 left over. 2 divided by 2, we have 1. 1 multiplied by 2, we have 2. We subtract again, and we have 0. So this is going to give us 21. The other approach I like to take is 14 divided by 1 multiplied by 3 divided by 2. Now, we have numerator and the denominator here. So you look at 2 and 14. 14 is a multiple of 2, so we can divide 2 by itself once. 14 divided by 2, we have 7. Now we can have 7 multiplied by 3, because 1 multiplied by 1 in the denominator is 1, so we don't have to pay attention to that. And this is going to give us 21. So 2 different ways to get to your answer. Either way is fine. Remember, if you have any questions, go ahead and post them. I'll try to answer them as soon as possible. So what is the value of 2.13 multiplied by 3.4? This typically gets introduced in grade 5, but it also gets up to about grade 7. Students tend to be asked this type of questions. So here's the way I like to recommend this. 2.13 multiplied by 3.4. Some write it this way. I don't like this method, but what I like to do here is 2.13 multiplied by 3.4. So if you do it this way, you have to put a 0, you have to add a 0 to the end, and it doesn't really matter. So let's go ahead and solve this, and I'll show you how we go about this. So 3 multiplied by 4. The first thing you want to do is ignore all the decimals. Just ignore the decimals and multiply it like you'll multiply a regular set of numbers. So 3 multiplied by 4, we have 12. So we write 2 here and we carry 1 up here. 1 multiplied by 4, we have 4. We add 1 to that, that is 5. 2 multiplied by 4, we have 8. So now, because we're now moving to the 3, we're in the tens place. So we're going to put a 0 in the ones place, and then 3 multiplied by 3, we have 9. 1 multiplied by 3, we have 3. 2 multiplied by 3, we have 6.
And now we're going to add these numbers together. So I'm going to put a 0 here just so it's easy to see all the numbers. We can add them in the same columns. So 2 plus 0, we have 2. 5 plus 9, we have 14. So I'm going to write a 4 here. I'm going to carry up a 1. 1 plus 8, I have 9 plus 3, 12. So I'm going to write a 2 here and carry 1 up here. 1 plus 0 is 1. 1 plus 6 is 7. Now we're not done. Now we have to ask ourselves, how many decimal places do we have? 2.13, we have 2 numbers after the decimal. And then 3.4, we have 1 number after the decimal. So when we multiply, we're going to add all those together. So we should have 3 numbers after the decimal. So let's start from here. So I have 1, 2, 3. Then I'm going to put a decimal right here, because we need to have 3 numbers after the decimal. So that's the best way to do this, so that you don't get confused. Because as you get larger decimal numbers, if you try to walk through the decimal while you're trying to do the multiplication, you will get so confused and get lost as you walk through it. So this is a grade 8 subject. So when I say grade 8 here, I'm also looking at grade 7 pre-AP students, as well as Algebra 1. So grade 8 students also take Algebra 1 if they're on the pre-AP track. Now I'm going to introduce you to some rules here that are very important. The first rule here is, if I have a number a to the power of m multiplied by another number a to the power of n, it's the same as a to the power of m plus n, and a to the power of 0 equal to 1. So here's the best way to go about this. So I have 6 to the power of negative 3 multiplied by 6 to the power of x equal to 1. That's the way the question comes through. But we know that any number to the power of 0 is 1. So we can rewrite this as 6 to the power of negative 3 multiplied by 6 to the power of x is equal to 6 to the power of 0. So now that we have the same base for all of the numbers, we can actually work with the exponents. So let's go ahead and deal with this exponent, because this is a rule right here. So we have 6 to the power of negative 3 multiplied by 6 to the power of x is the same as 6 to the power of negative 3 plus x. So now our question looks this way. 6 to the power of negative 3 plus x is equal to 6 to the power of 0. Now, because our bases are the same, so this is the base of the exponent number, so this is the base. The bases are the same, so you can actually equate the exponent. So all we have to do now is negative 3 plus x equal to 0. So we're going to add 3 to both sides. So therefore, x is equal to 3. So that's how you would do this. If you have questions on this topic, remember, every topic I'm going through today, if you go to our YouTube channel, you will see videos that go through several examples of this same type of questions. So now let's go ahead and simplify. We have a fraction with a quadratic equation as the numerator and a quadratic equation as the denominator. This is going to be a topic you will see most likely in Algebra 1 and definitely in Algebra 2. So the first thing we want to do is look at the possibility of factoring the numerator and the denominator. So let's go ahead and factor the numerator. So x squared plus 10x plus 21. So we have 21 as, because we have a here, b and c, a equal to 1, b equal to 10, c equal to 21. We need to find ac, and then that's going to give us 21. Then the next thing we want to do is we want to find the factors of ac that add up to b. So 21, I have 1 and 21, I have 3 and 7. So here I can easily say that 3 and 7 add up to 10. 3 multiplied by 7 gives you 21. So x squared plus 10x plus 21 is going to be the same as x plus 3, x plus 7.
Now we have, the next thing I want you to see is when you have a squared minus b squared, so that's difference of two squares, is actually the same as having a plus b multiplied by a minus b. So this is going to give us, in this case we have x squared minus 9. This is the same as x squared minus 3 squared. So you can see the difference of two squares. So this is going to give us x plus 3 multiplied by x minus 3. So we're going to replace these quadratic expressions with their factors. So now we have x plus 3, x plus 7 divided by x plus 3, x minus 3. Now, because you have to look to see whether you have common terms in the numerator and the denominator. The common terms can be crossed out. So this crosses out, this crosses out, because they are the same, they are common terms. And now we are left with, our solution is going to be x plus 7 over x minus 3. So that's the solution to this fraction. This is a quadratic fraction. Normally we'll call them rational functions, but that's more the algebra 2 to pre-calculus level. So now we want to solve this equation. 6 divided by x minus 6 equal to 3. So 6 divided by x minus 6 equal to 3. So we have a common denominator here. Well, we actually have a denominator on the left-hand side and we don't have one on the right-hand side. So the easiest thing to do, I'm going to show you two ways of doing this. The first method I'm going to show you is multiplying by the denominator, so you get rid of the denominator. So you multiply the left-hand side by x minus 6, and then you also multiply the right-hand side by x minus 6. So now we're left with 6x minus 6 divided by x minus 6. You can see that we can cross this out, is equal to 3 multiplied by x minus 6. So now we have 6 is equal to 3x minus 18. Now we're going to add 18 to both sides. And we have 24 equal to 3x. And now we'll divide both sides by 3. Let's divide both sides by 3. So 8 is equal to x. Now another approach we could take is 6 divided by x minus 6 equal to 3 over 1. And then we'll call it cross multiply, but I like to call it cross product. So what we now have here is we'll multiply across, and we're going to have 6 multiplied by 1 equal to 3 multiplied by x minus 6. So 6 is equal to 3x minus 18. Let's add 18 to both sides. So 24 equal to 3x. We divide both sides by 3, so we can get the value of x. 8 is equal to x. So either way you go about it, you get the same result. What is the equation of a line that has a slope of -3 and passes through the point -1, 4? The topics you need to deal with this start all the way from grade 7, and you still also use it even in geometry. So here's what we need to remember. We have a slope. So if you want to find the equation of a line, you have y minus y1 equal to m, which is your slope, x minus x1. So here I'm going to pick x1 here, y1 here. And then we're just going to substitute. So y minus y1, our y1 is 4, is equal to m, which is -3, x minus x1, x minus -1. So now we have y minus 4 is equal to -3, x, negative here outside the parentheses, negative inside, we'll multiply the negatives, and we have a positive, so it's x plus 1 in the parentheses. And so we're going to have y minus 4 equal to negative 3x minus 3. So I'm going to write, my goal here is to write it in the form y equal to mx plus b. So I'm going to add 4 to both sides. So I have y is equal to negative 3x plus 1. So that's the equation that you need to generate. The next question, what are the lateral surface area, total surface area, and volume of the three-dimensional figure below? So let's do some work here. Lateral surface area, what is the lateral surface area? It's actually going to give you perimeter of base multiplied by height. So most of the textbooks will say BH. So that's what it actually means. And then total surface area is going to be lateral surface area plus 2 multiplied by area of base. So your textbook, you're going to see it written this way. BH, actually it's, some write it as PH, some write it as BH. So PH plus 2B. Okay, so PH plus 2B, and then your volume is actually going to be area of base multiplied by height. So this is going to be BH, where B is the area of the base. Okay, let's start with the lateral surface area. Lateral surface area is let's start with the perimeter of the base. In this case, I'm going to use the base as, I'm going to have this as my base here. So perimeter of base, so BH. So this is going to give us, because we have a rectangle down here, it's going to be 2 multiplied by length plus width. So 11 plus 15. And then we multiply that by 24. So this is going to give us 2 multiplied by 26 multiplied by 24. And we have 52 multiplied by 24. So let's go ahead and do that somewhere here. 52 multiplied by 24. So we have 2 multiplied by 4 is 8, 5 multiplied by 4 is 20. We put a 0 down here. 2 multiplied by 2 is 4, 5 multiplied by 2 is 10. So we add all the numbers together. We have 8, 4, 2, 1. So this is going to be 1,248 square meters. Now let's look at total surface area. Total surface area is going to be lateral surface area multiplied plus twice the area. So the area of the rectangle is going to be 11 multiplied by 15. So our lateral surface area is 1,248 plus 11 multiplied by 15 times 2. So we can say 11 multiplied by 30. So 30 multiplied by 11. I'm not going to go through this because when you have a 0, all you do is multiply 3 by 11. That gives you 33 and just add the 0 to it. So we have 330. So we're going to go ahead and try to solve that somewhere. Let's do it here. 1,248 plus 330. So I have 8 here, 7, 5, 1. So this is going to give me 1,578 square meters. And then finally, we want to find the volume of the figure. The volume is the area of the base multiplied by the height. What is the area of our base? We already have that as 11 multiplied by 15, and then our height is 24. So this is going to give you 11 multiplied by 15. That will give you 165, and you multiply 165 by 24. So 5 multiplied by 4, 20. 6 multiplied by 4, 24 plus 2. So I put the 2 here. We have 26. Put a 2 right here. 1 multiplied by 4, 4 plus 2, we have 6. 5 multiplied by 2 is 10, so we'll put 0, bring 1 here. 6 multiplied by 2, 12, plus 1, 13. 1 multiplied by 2, 2 plus 1, 3. So we're going to add the numbers together. 0, 6, 9, 3. So this is going to give us 3,960 cubic meters. So that's how you would find the lateral surface area, total surface area, and volume. Take note of these formula, they work the same way. The only thing is when you're dealing with like cones, when you have circles, they look at it a bit differently, but the concept is the same. What is the equation of a line that is parallel to 2y minus 4x equal to 3 and passes through the point 4, negative 5? This uses the concepts from grade 7 all the way to geometry. We're going to do a few things first. For you to compare, for you to figure out if lines are parallel, the one thing you have to remember is you have to know what the slope is. To find the slope, you have to always write your line in this form, y equal to mx plus b. So we're going to write this equation in that form. So we start off with 2y. Let's start off here. 2y minus 4x rather. 2y minus 4x equal to 3. So we need to make sure we have it in the form y equal to mx plus b. So I'm going to add 4x to both sides. So 2y equal to 4x plus 3. And now I have to divide every term by 2. So I have y equal to 2x plus 3 over 2. So now this is the same way of writing, this is another way of writing these equations that we're given. And now we have to ask ourselves, what do we need to know for two lines to be parallel? If two lines are parallel, it means that their slopes are exactly the same value. So now what this question can be written as is, we need a line where you have a slope of 2, because this is what the slope is right here. We need a slope of 2, and we need it to pass through the point 4, negative 5. So the equation for that is y minus y1 equal to slope multiplied by x minus x1. And we're going to try to write our answer in that form. So let's go ahead and substitute. Y minus y1 is negative 5 equal to slope, which is 2. X minus x1 is 4. I see a question on improper fractions. I'll get to it towards the end. Once we finish the questions that we have, I will go ahead and talk about improper fractions. If there's anything specific about improper fractions you want me to look at, you can also specify so that I can know exactly how to go about it. So here I have y plus 5 equal to 2x minus 8. So now I need to write it in this form. So I already have my x on this side. I have a number here. So I'm just going to subtract 5 from both sides. So I have y equal to 2x. Negative 8 minus 5 is minus 13 right there. So that is the equation of a line that is parallel. You can also see when we compare the lines, look at this, the slope here is 2, the slope here is 2, so they're going to be parallel. Those are all the questions that we have for today. So I'll address additional questions that you may have. I noticed that there's a question here about improper fractions. I'll go ahead and just walk through improper fractions briefly, and then we can see. I hope the user would send in chat what specific help they need so that we can address that since we have some time. So improper fractions. So an improper fraction is one in which the numerator is larger than the denominator. So these are improper fractions. We can convert an improper fraction to a mixed number. Some call it a mixed fraction. And we can also convert from a mixed number back to an improper fraction. Let me just do a few examples of converting. I'll do one example on adding improper fractions, and I'll do one on multiplying improper fractions to see if that captures it. Okay, so let's look at adding some improper fractions. 7 over 2 plus 6 over 5. Let's try that for example. The first thing you want to do with fractions when you're adding or subtracting, you want to always make sure they have the same denominator. So here we have 2 and 5 as our denominators. The best thing to do there is, if I look at 2 and 5, the only thing that could be a common multiple of this is 10. That's the first common multiple we can come up with. So I need to rewrite each of these fractions so that they have a denominator of 10. So I have 7 over 2, and I need to get a denominator of 10. What do I do with 2? What do I multiply 2 by to get to 10? I'll multiply that by 5. So I also multiply 7 by 5. So this is going to give me 35 over 10. Now, 6 over 5, I also need to get it to a denominator of 10. What do I multiply by 5 to get to 10? That will be 2. So I multiply 5 by 2, so I also have to multiply 6 by 2. This is going to give me 12 over 10. So now, instead of 7 over 2 plus 6 over 5, we have new fractions, 35 over 10 plus 12 over 10. And now, because we have a common denominator, we can add the numerators. So we keep the denominator. And 35 plus 12, let's go ahead and do that on the side. 5 plus 2, 7, 3 plus 1, 4. So this is 47 over 10. Now you can leave it this way, or you can convert that to a mixed number. Depends on what your teacher is asking you to do. But if you want to convert to a mixed number, here's what you do. 47 divided by 10. So how many groups of 10 can you get in 47? I'll say that's 4. 4 multiplied by 10, we have 40. When we subtract, we're left with 7. So 47 over 10 tells me that there are 4 groups of 10 in 47. There's a group with 7, and we're supposed to have 10 groups. So that's how you would add improper fractions that have different denominators. If they had the same denominator, you just go ahead and add the numerators and you should be fine. So now let's go ahead and look at multiplying improper fractions. So I'm going to use the same improper fractions. So 7 over 2 multiplied by 6 over 5. So you have, with multiplication, the denominators don't matter. You can just go ahead and multiply across. So this is 7 multiplied by 6 divided by 2 multiplied by 5. So here we have 42 divided by 10. So we can also simplify this further. 42 divided by 2, 10 divided by 2. The reason why we do that is because they are even numbers. Even number is a number that can be divided by 2 without a remainder. So 42 divided by 2 gives us 21. 10 divided by 2 gives us 5. So you can leave it in this form, or we can take one step further and change it to a mixed number. 21 divided by 5. We have 4 groups of 5 in 21. 4 multiplied by 5, I have 20 with a remainder of 1. So this is going to give me 4 groups. I have a remainder of 1, and 5 is my divisor. Thank you for the questions. Problem on volume of cylinders and other shapes. Okay, I'll take cylinder. I'll take volume of cylinders. A problem on surface area for triangles. Are you looking at a triangular prism, or you're looking at what kind of triangle are you talking about? Because a triangle is 2-dimensional, and you'll need a surface area on 3-dimensional figures. How do you get the volume and the radius of a cylinder? Okay, let's go ahead and do that. I hope I answered the question on improper fractions. So let's go ahead and look at the volume of a cylinder. So here with volume, let me just give a general overview of volume. Volume actually is area of a base multiplied by the height. Okay, so if I have a cylinder, I'm going to try my best to draw something that is a good looking cylinder. So the cylinder, we have this right here, and then we have, so this is just a rough sketch of a cylinder. With a cylinder, you want to find out, there are two things you need. You want to find out the height of the cylinder. You want to find out the radius of the circle that is in the base of the cylinder, radius of circle. And so the first thing you want to do is, let's find the area of the base. The base is a circle, so the area is going to be pi r squared. And then we multiply that by the height for the volume. So let's stick with the area first. So the area is pi r squared. So let's give some fictional numbers here. Let's make these 15 centimeters, and let's make this a diameter of 8 centimeters, for example. I'm going to ignore the value of pi, so you're going to see pi in my answers. If you want, you can multiply that by 3.14. Some will say 3.1, some will say 3. So for the sake of just showing you how to do this, I'm just going to leave the answer with pi in there. So now we have a diameter. The diameter is 8 centimeters, and a diameter is actually 2 times the radius. So let's call this 2 times the radius is 8 centimeters. So I'm going to divide by 2 to get the value of the radius. So your radius is 4 centimeters. So your area of the base, let's write it here, area of the base is pi multiplied by 4 centimeters squared. So this is 16 pi. Now we want to find the volume. Volume is equal to area of base multiplied by the height of the cylinder. So the area of the base is 16 pi, and now we multiply that by 15. So what you do here is 16 multiplied by 15. We have 6 multiplied by 5, we have 30. We bring the 3 up here. 1 multiplied by 5 is 5. Plus 3, we have 8. So we put a 0 here. 6 multiplied by 1, we have 6. 1 multiplied by 1, we have 1. Let's add this up together. 0, 8 plus 6, 14. We put a 4 here. Bring a 1 up here. 1 plus 0, 1. 1 plus 1, 2. So this is going to give us 240 pi cubic centimeters. Now, for some teachers, they will tell you to leave your answers with pi in there. But I think for students who are in like the pre-AP classes, they want them to use pi equal to 3.14. And all you do is, in this case, for such students, you will just, on your calculator, 240 multiplied by 3.14. And that will give you your volume. I hope that answers the question. Are there any questions that you'd like me to address before the time runs out? So we're looking at triangular. Let's see. Okay, let me go ahead and address triangular prisms. Let's try that. This math, this can be geometry. This shows up in geometry, but the first time students are introduced to this is in 7th grade math. And it's a bit more, they have more challenging questions with the 7th grade pre-AP math. So you will see this in geometry. Also depends on the state, because in different states they emphasize it. In some states they emphasize volume in geometry. In other states they don't really emphasize that. So it really depends. But generally this is volume, surface area, lateral area, and area of shapes. That's when you will deal with this type of questions. So let's go ahead and look for a triangular prism. It's going to be a lot more challenging to draw, so I may have to find one that I've drawn already. So let's look at volume of triangular prisms. So here's the rule for volume. The rule doesn't change. So it's going to be volume is going to be area of base. And the reason why it's called a triangular prism is because the base is a triangle. So it's area of base multiplied by the height. So what is the area of a triangle? The area of a triangle is 1/2 the base multiplied by the height. And then we multiply this by the height of the prism. So important thing to note here, these heights are not the same. This height here is the height of the triangle. This height here is the height of the prism. So let me find an example of a triangular prism that, let me find an example and then I'll pull one up here. Give me a second. Okay, I'll find a triangular prism so we can have something to work with. Okay, we have a triangular prism here. Let's use this one. So we want to find the volume of this prism here. So the area of the base, So we can see here you have a triangle on this side and you have a triangle on this side. So these are your bases, and then the 23 feet represents the height of the prism. So look at this 5 feet here, that represents the height of the triangle. So the area of the base is 1/2 the base multiplied by the height of the triangle. So it's 1/2. The base of the triangle is 16, and then the height is 5. So this is going to give us 80 divided by 2, which is going to give us 40 feet. 40 square feet, and then the height is 23. So volume is now going to be 40 multiplied by 23. So all I care about is 23 multiplied by 4. So this is going to give me 92. And then we're going to append a 0 to the end. And this is going to give us the volume of... This is going to give us the volume of the triangular prism. So that's how you'll deal with volume. Regardless of the shape, the most important thing to remember about volume is area multiplied by height. The height is the line that joins the bases together. So that's why you have this 23 here. There is another question on, let's see what it is. Scientific notation. So let's try a few here. So on the scientific notation, I'm going to try, let's see, 0.245. I'm going to also try 0.00128, and then let's try 13.57. Okay, so what you want to do with scientific notation is you want to always write it in this form. You want to write it in the form a multiplied by 10 to the power of n. That's what you want to write. And a is a rational number, so that means it could be a number with decimals. It's not necessarily an integer. A is a rational number from 1 to 9. Or actually, that is greater than 1 and less than 10. So it's greater than 1 and less than 10. So what you want to always do, let's start with the decimal here. we want to always move the decimal in a direction such that we have a number that is greater than 1. So in this case, I'm going to move the decimal right here. So I have 2.45. And then we multiply 10. We need to find the exponent that we use here. Generally, if you have a number that is less than 1, your exponent is going to be negative. So the question you want to ask yourself now is, how many times did you leap? How many steps or how many leaps did you take from the decimal to your position where you have a number that is greater than 1 and less than 10? Here we moved only one time, so it's going to be -1. I have some videos on this that go into this in depth. Most of the videos that I make, I try to solve about 3 or 4 examples so that gives the student more comfort with the topic. So let's try this other one here. We need to move the decimal until we get to a number that is greater than 1 but less than 10. So I have to go 1, 2, 3. So this is where I need to go. So I now have 1.28, and I had to move 3 times because I have a number less than 1. It's going to be a negative exponent. Now let's look at this one. For example, here we have a number that is greater than 1, and we also have, the number is greater than 1, so I can already see that I have a positive exponent. So for me to get to my A right here, A here is greater than 10, so I need to find a way to make sure that my A is greater than 1 but less than 10. So I need to move it right here. So I put the decimal right here. So I have 1.357. And guess what? I had to move it only one time to get to my desired position. So the general rule is that whenever your value that you're given or you're starting with is less than 1, your exponent is going to be negative. Whenever your value is greater than 1, then you're going to end up with a positive exponent. So that's generally, and then if your value is 1, for example, if I have 1, my exponent is going to be 0. So because any number to the power of 0 is equal to 1. So that's the other one that you need to pay attention to. I hope this helps with your understanding of standard notation. Are there any other questions that you'd like me to address? Let me look through the chat and see if there are more questions. I don't see any more questions. Okay, that's all we have for today. We'll meet again at 1 p.m. Central Time tomorrow. Please go ahead and send me questions. If you send me questions ahead of time, it'll help me better with preparation and help me even look at, if I know the type of questions that most students have, then I can actually bring up different levels of difficulty so that we can address a more varied set of questions to help your children or you understand better how to understand the topics. And if you want to spend the time helping your children as well, that would be beneficial as well. Thank you so much for joining today. I really appreciate it. Please subscribe to the channel so that you will be able to get videos, because one of the other things I will be doing is I'll make some videos on topics. If I see videos that I don't have that seems to be a concern for students, I'll go ahead and make a video for it. So if those videos are made, you will know that those videos are ready. So please subscribe to our channel and also submit questions to us. You can submit it through you can send it our email. You can also send it through Twitter. You can go to our Facebook page if you want and also submit questions there so that we can help you better. Thank you all for your time and God's blessings to you all. Bye for now.